Everybody, welcome to Storm Talk. Way through News meteorologist Brian Good here. Going to cover these storm chances again, kind of update you on how that is looking for the rest of this week. We'll talk about the holiday weekend, and there's not really a whole lot to talk about in the short term, so we're going to update you guys too on mid-September and how that is looking too, with change to maybe some cooler weather moving our way. All right, as far as our severe weather outlooks, as we always try to do, get those out right off the bat. No severe weather is expected. It's just general thunderstorms. We don't have strong winds aloft. You've got to have several factors to get thunderstorms going, period. You've got to have an imbalance or instability to take place, and you've got to have some cold air aloft. We have quite a bit of warm air right over Kentucky above our heads, going pretty far up, and that's going to really limit the size these cumulus clouds can get. So that's why we're not talking about large thunderstorms in Kentucky. There is some cooling taking place across Indiana, where the ridge of high pressure is weaker. So that's why most activity has been across the Wabash through Cincinnati the past couple of days, and that trend will likely continue for a few more. Got to have some dry pockets as well aloft to produce the potential for some gusty winds. Seeing hints of that, nothing off the chart. So freezing levels pretty high as well. So really there's nothing alarming to talk about when it comes to severe weather. Just got to watch for maybe a few of these that could get tall enough to produce some gusty winds, but most of it's just going to be a burst of heavy rain and some lightning, and it's over. All right, so that's the risk today. Tomorrow, mainly our eastern sections. We'll go into more detail on that here in a few moments. And then as we into Thursday, that eastern section kind of backs up a little bit more to the west, closer to I-65. It's all about the center of the high itself, which is going to be located just to the west of Louisville. That's going to be the question mark on that. All right, do want to mention, too, the air quality alert still in effect till midnight tonight. Has been extended, by the way, into tomorrow, Wednesday as well, for Louisville and surrounding counties there across the metro. COPD, asthma, anything that has any type of breathing element involved, you want to stay inside and stay close to the AC, all right, as we get through the next couple of days. Rain will help things out if we get any. And we will see some areas that we'll see some rain, because we're seeing that already on the radar. We had this little boundary that kind of moved through, little vort, if you will, a little bit of spinning motion there across portions of the Wabash. It was there yesterday. It's around the edge of the high itself, and you can see where it's kind of spinning. It's produced a little bit of an outflow, but again, it's pretty warm aloft over Kentucky, so the amount of cold air that is being pushed out of this is going to act as a mini cold front and is going to help lift the air ahead of it to try to produce some thunderstorms and downpours this afternoon. But once it gets into the warmer column of air over Kentucky, it will likely dissipate and fall apart altogether. So it's mainly southern Indiana that is most at risk to see anything to develop with that cold push that's pushing overhead. And we're seeing some slight reaction. Look carefully. You have to get real close to your iPhone right now. But it's right over Clarksville, Indiana. I got a downpour just popped up. I did see one, too, not far from Jasper, trying to show up here. Just north of Jasper, in fact, over Indiana. That may be something that may hold together all the way through DuBois County and Orange County later on. But again, this is not going to be a big deal, but at this point, everybody's just trying to get some rain, because we've had a dry little period here, and we do have a chance for some downpours across southern areas of Indiana. Once you cross into Louisville, now Louisville itself, we have kind of our own urban heat island effect that sometimes we can help produce some thunder showers within the metro itself. But I would say any area south and east of downtown, especially, or south and east of Waterston, your chance for thunderstorms begins to decrease quite a bit compared to Indiana. But even there, it's not overly high. So here's the setup. Today we are going to be tracking, of course, this moisture field to see what happens here for the next 6 hours. Tomorrow, the center of the high pressure itself is going to backtrack and move back to the west and head toward St. Louis. As it does so, that will allow the northeast side of that to have some weakness to it, and that's where the wind flow can produce perhaps some cooler air aloft and a little bit of a wind push as well to perhaps produce some thunderstorms. But once you're underneath the protection of that high, the ridge of the high pressure itself, you are protected. You're fine. So it's only going to be a very small section of wave country that will be vulnerable to the wind fields and the cooling effect aloft the atmosphere to create that imbalance. I mean, a very small section. So here's how things are looking in the short term this afternoon. It's pointing out on the Triple R model some scattered downpours. This is always overdone on little details, but you kind of get the general sense. And one thing I want you to pick out from that is that it fades away by the time we into sunset. Okay. Here is how tomorrow is looking for Wednesday. Start off patchy fog again around 70 or so. Tomorrow, as that high begins to move to the west, we will then start to see some weakness take place. We're going to keep an eye on anything that can develop around Cincinnati, because I think if anything pops in Cincinnati, it will likely track in that direction and that flow, and it may be More of an issue for the I-71 corridor to get some thunderstorms out of that cold push of air and the wind fields. I'll show you that here in a second. But that too will begin to fade away by sunset. Here's what I'm talking about. This is the NAM model, which we got to use always with caution and a grain of salt anyway, because the NAM model tends to overdo not only instability factors but moisture fields. But nevertheless, you can look carefully. The wind arrows, you can see a natural circulation, so that's where it has the high. Here's where the weakness of the high is, and this shows some pocket of weak wind. It's not strong wind at all. This is just a little push of wind. I mean, this is like no wind. That's why we have the air quality alerts, okay? But there is some wind aloft that rides on the northeast side there of that high. And you can see here's Louisville right here. So it's mainly going to be the I-71 corridor in East Kentucky that would be most vulnerable to that kind of a setup. And it's picking up the instability as well in that same zone. I mean, anywhere once you get above the greens with the yellows, you're talking about more than 2,000 on Capes, which is pretty typical of summertime heating of the day stuff, and it's mainly limited to areas north and east of Louisville on the east side of that high pressure. As far as damaging wind gusts, this is looking at moisture fields aloft. There is some drier air. You want some of that pocket of dry air to get that potential for some gusty winds. I see that more of an issue for perhaps northeast Kentucky and Ohio to see that happen. It looks pretty moist right over us, so I really don't know if, and again, this is just one particular model, and it may not be exactly right. So, but just give you an idea that I don't see damaging wind gusts a huge deal, but a few of those could produce some gusty winds. But I think Cincinnati, Lexington, Moorhead, Kentucky, I think that's the area more at risk, really, as we head through Wednesday and Thursday. Because on Thursday, it's trying to point out that we'll have thunderstorms kind of develop. Now, you remember the SPC moved that thunderstorm zone a little more to the west on Thursday to account for that slight jog to the west. That's all dependent on that. If it doesn't move that far, it'll still be the same area of East Kentucky. If it does move more to the west, then yeah, that'll then open up the I-65 corridor to a few thunderstorms that are rolling from the north Thursday. But again, very scattered pop-ups moving through. They'll fade away by the evening. All right. So, and there's those wind fields too, by the way, on Thursday. You can see how they are mainly north and east. All right, let's talk about the holiday weekend. Saturday, we still have the high pressure in control of our area. It's trying to protect us from thunderstorm action. This is a lot of tropical moisture here, still associated with the remnants of Erica kind of being thrown into the southeast corner of the country. And there is signs we could see a new tropical depression or something close to that develop off the Carolina coast. That'll be interesting to see if that happens. But main core of the tropical moisture, though, is south and east of that high. So we're mainly protected on Saturday. Even on Sunday, I still see us being protected. Here's the problem for Labor Day. Is going to be two things. One, will we see some of that tropical moisture to our southeast? Will that moisture flow try to increase a little more into southern Kentucky, or will it stay locked up along the Appalachians? Got to figure that part out. Second part, there is a weak boundary that's going to move through here at some point Monday. Now, although the Canadians coming in now and suggesting more Tuesday that it would arrive. But either way, the two of these together may work in tandem to try to increase the shower and thunderstorm potential. If we had a bet on the southeast low only, I would say the rain chances look very small in mainly southern Kentucky. If we had a bet on the front, I would think we may hold off the rain chance entirely, probably until late Monday night, if not just Tuesday. So overall, the holiday weekend is not looking too shabby at all. All right, so let's look beyond that. Talked about the Labor Day holiday. We do have a front. Again, it's a weak front when it comes to moisture, but it is going to be one that's going to become stationary over the Ohio Valley. Some signals of that. And if we see that, we could see a lot of clouds and some showers and thunderstorms near the 10th of September. So a lot of this cooling you see here is raining and cloud-induced cooling. Very well could keep us in the 70s or low 80s for a day or two if this heavy rainfall does set up over us. We don't know that for sure yet. But notice what happens. Another push of warm air begins to build in, and we will then see our next front. This is the one that is going to be a pretty deep low pressure that is going to move into Canada that I think is going to be a significant cool effect over the eastern half of the country. How cool, we don't know. I will say, and again, this is the GFS looking far out there, but it's given us at least highs mainly into the 60s over a good chunk here of the Ohio Valley, in fact, for highs by the 16th of September. We'll see if that happens. But either way,